Hello, hello. So this is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello. Happy new 2022 to everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful break, wonderful time to relax and unwind. And in the world of tech, a lot happened since my last guest. So today, I so want to talk about CES 2022. I think it's appropriate. I think the biggest event just finished. Okay, we watched from afar. Some were lucky enough to be on site, and I hear about 40,000 attendees came to Vegas last week to have all the fun, to hear all the excitement firsthand and share. So thank you to those influencers, startups, involved parties who really shared that big news to all of us. Because today I do want to talk about certain highlights with Mark Wittenberg. Mark, welcome. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you, Irene?
I'm doing fabulously well because, this world of tech, every day we are bombarded with one exciting news after another. I am ambitious. We're going to talk about CES news, but it's impossible to cover, right? Everything. So we're going to start somewhere. Mark, you've been CES influencer for years. I know you can compare year to year. Just talk to us. How do you feel about the event this year?
Well, I played a bigger part last year was my first actual year because I was involved from the setup side. We were there with Voice Life last year. And we had a bit of presence there this year with a media package there this year with Voice Life. But last year, it was the first with the pandemic going on. Obviously, last year was virtual, and there's a bit of stuff to work through for sure to have a successful virtual event. Um, but last year was really busy, even if it was virtual. This year was a bit different. Obviously, they went into the hybrid kind of a mode where it was like on site and virtual at the same time. They had to at the last minute kind of catch up to where the pandemic was and where Omicron, and it's a moving target. So it was a huge challenge, I think, for CES to kind of get their way through it this year, but still with 40,000 people. And for the most part, the influencers, as you know, the influencers online, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, the influencers always do a really good job showcasing what was there as far as tech goes. So I played a very small part this year at the CES, aside from kind of following what the other associates were doing, as far as getting the tech out there. But they still had some amazing tech this year, Irene, at the CES, and certainly you can see throughout the years certain tech's evolving.
Let's dive into those trends, right? Because what got me excited, okay, and I'm not automotive person, okay, I love good automotive products, I can say that, in a good tech versus not so good tech, but of course on very much consumer side, so that's not where my professional background is. But we hear about electrical vehicles, we hear about innovation and company partnering to deliver this amazing tech. So any announcements?
I think, you know, EV or electric vehicles, I guess they've come such a long way, but I think it's always going to be a hot topic anytime we look into technology, just because of the size of the market and the size of these manufacturers. We go back into way back into vehicles and the hybrid vehicles when they first start coming out. The electric vehicle market is certainly evolving. Do they have a long way to go? I certainly think they do. But you look into Mercedes-Benz and BMW and even Ford, Volvo, automakers like that. They're really trying to get their electric vehicles on point. And one thing that I'm always looking into myself. I've been sort of in the automotive industry for 20 years in a different side of it, but um, I always look to kind of like range of electric vehicles with Tesla and stuff like that, where you have charging stations. And one thing I'm always interested in is, what kind of range can you get out of an EV, out of an electric vehicle, and also, climate testing is a big one for me too, because where I live, the climate gets minus 40 Celsius here. So when we're looking at charging stations and climate, I'm led to believe that the charging stations are going to be a thing of the past. I think as we move forward in electric vehicles and EVs, I think they're going to have to find a way to keep these things continuously charged. I don't think that there's going to be enough charging stations put up in the world for these EVs to go that direction. I think they'll have to go to a continuous wireless charge eventually.
What about these autonomous vehicles? How close we are? Is it still a big dream ahead of us?
I think they're testing, like, the autonomous vehicle world is really interesting, and with the communication, especially with the communication back and forth between these vehicles, talking back and forth autonomously, no drivers on board and stuff like that. And with the communication going back and forth between these vehicles and it's all digital. So, then it becomes a storage thing. So where are they storing this communication? They're going to be storing it on board, and where's it going back to? Is it going back to a central station and stuff like that? But that's another interesting topic, is the autonomous vehicle section, and that's a big topic. It's tough to cover that one, and I certainly, I'm not an autonomous vehicle pro, but the EVs are certainly interesting. But autonomous, of course, the information, where is it getting stored, and what kind of chipset are you going to need to store that information, right? So
Absolutely. For me, the most exciting part is AI monitoring driver behavior.
right.
Okay, for now, this is very reachable. This is definitely already in many cars, right? So, and it's just exciting from consumer perspective, don't you think?
Absolutely is. Yeah, I 100% agree with you there.
Good, good. Okay, so from automotive to something that we know we're gonna make up, 2020s and into 2030s, okay? Cryptocurrencies, blockchain, NFTs, metaverse, okay? It's all taking central stage. So how is the coverage at the event? What did you find the most exciting, the most impossible to miss?
Ah, here's what I think. I think 2023 is going to be the CES of blockchain and NFT and metaverse. I think they touched on it this year, but I really think 2023 is going to bring a home run into NFT, metaverse, blockchain technology. That I'm really looking forward to 2023 and what it's going to bring into blockchain for sure. I've been involved in blockchain in the cryptocurrency industry for a little while now, maybe 4 or 5 years or something like that. But um, and heavily researched. I researched the blockchain space for about 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week is what I spend in the blockchain space. So it's evolving huge, and the use cases are moving so quickly. It's like when we get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of the world knowing about cryptocurrency, we're already evolving into the next level of that blockchain, and only 5% know about blockchain, sort of a thing. So the use cases are so um there's so many different use cases for blockchain and the metaverse. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the metaverse a little bit, and I see that Samsung's made a play into the metaverse, and I think they've opened up. I think they opened up a flagship store in the metaverse. Actually, their first. I think it was the largest store in metaverse was Samsung. So they've come a long way too. But you look where the direction of these companies are going. They understand that the metaverse is going to be a thing, and they're buying land in the metaverse like they would in normal life. And it's really crazy to see this evolving. And maybe our generation, Irene, this is going to be probably the generations underneath us for sure that are going to be playing in this space. But it's interesting to see in our generation, it takes us a lot longer to wrap our head around something like this as far as technology goes, when we're still used to working on the Nokia phone.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We are very interesting, I think, sandwich generation. Okay, we've seen things that were really pre-historical era of computing. Okay, I date
Mhm.
myself now, but it's true.
Mm.
With that, right, we're really quickly adapting, and again, companies big and small jumping on that wagon, claiming that they have a saying in metaverse. All right. In my role here, I speak with wonderful, wonderful, bright leaders who just help me to understand on human level. okay? Because we
Right.
have to digest it first, because tech is
Yes.
cool, but it's all in our hands.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, and we can date ourselves for sure. But I mean, facts be known, it is what it is. But we were excited to see when the phone came off the wall and you could actually walk around your house with a phone, right? So that was
Oh yeah,
exciting.
miracle, absolute
That
miracle.
that was exciting for us because we didn't have to sit on a stool all the time and pick up this telephone that was attached to the wall, right? So
And
that was a
funny enough, with Metaverse now, are we chained back to our stool again? Because we can reach anything and anybody and anything, right? Outside of our own room. Is
yeah.
this something, or what is it, the physical kind of hybrid model is going to be of our existence, you think?
Yeah, it's so the metaverse is so interesting and these NFTs that are coming out, like a lot of people that in our generation they'll look at an NFT like it's a picture, like, okay, well, why are they buying this picture for $500,000? It's like it's really the smart contract behind the NFT. And it's not just the picture, but it's the contract that is attached to that. So, a lot of these NFTs, I think one of our good friends, Evan, has something to do with that a little bit, where he's got his own blockchain or his own cryptocurrency or something. But maybe through a smart contract, you can purchase one-on-one time with a leader of the world, or through their NFT. In that contract, you buy that NFT. In that contract is a sit down or a meet and greet or something like that, or even concerts, backstage passes through an NFT. It's all written in, it's behind the NFT. It's that contract that's so very important, and what's written into that contract. And this is the world we live in. And we don't read books anymore.
To me, the whole exciting part in this process is just seeing our own emergence, our own, let's say, new existence into adoption of this. Because at first it sounds silly, this
Right.
simple rule, right? Ridicule first, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then fear, then acceptance, and then embrace, like with the whole humankind, like we cannot imagine our life without internet anymore, right? So right now it seems to be NFTs. It's just the play that fuzzy word, and people really get excited for no reason. And yeah, it's not gonna go mainstream. So let's talk about some practical applications, because blockchain is gonna go mainstream this year, isn't it? What you learned from the event.
I agree. I agree. Blockchain is certainly going to be, if you're in business and you're a super business and you're, one of the top 10 companies in the world, I certainly think blockchain has to be part of your business plan coming into 2022 for sure. And I think a lot of these top 10 companies understand it. And the pressure's on them to hire the right developers to get this out there. And for me, for use case for NFTs, I'm not, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not huge on these NFTs, JPEGs and stuff like that. I'm more of a use case type person. So when I look at an NFT, you can get into ownership of companies and stuff like that through an NFT, and you can do capital raises through NFT. There's so many things that have a practical use case through an NFT. I think that's where we're probably going to go with blockchain for sure. You know, Everybody kind of looks to cryptocurrency and blockchain. They're not really splitting the two. They always think cryptocurrency, but the tech behind it, the blockchain behind it, is so useful. Even if we look into some of the issues, some of the challenges we're dealing with today, through healthcare and Omicron and COVID-19 pandemic, blockchain can be very useful in this stuff for statistics and data and information, and we can do that through an NFT. Imagine accessing your own health records through an NFT. Imagine accessing your health records through the blockchain, where it's all the data is kind of locked into one place that you can access. So it's going to save a lot of money for these super companies, and it's going to take, for the lack of a better term, it's going to take the papers off our desks, right? Because there would be no need for paper.
Always looking towards that. You know what? My background in a lot of way in automation, in business process automation. Okay, so whatever helps people to make their lives a little more rewarding instead of the manual repetitive work, I'm
Yeah,
in it. With blockchain we get that, and we get all the transparency and trust trustability, and just a whole bunch of other benefits. So let's talk about some industry use cases. Okay, something exciting you mentioned in healthcare, right? We talk about banking a lot when it comes to blockchain. Anything beyond it, because there got to be insurance use cases, right? We're sick and tired of all the insurance claims we have to deal with. What do you think?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I'm actually dealing with my insurance company right now on a claim where where I live in the world, we actually get a lot of storms, a lot of hailstorms. So when it comes to insurance, that's a massive use case. I don't know what the exact numbers are for insurance claims around the world every year, but when it comes to blockchain, if you can blockchain an insurance claim, imagine the transparency. You don't have to actually wait for that email to come back or wait for something. If something's being done with that claim, you can just log in and you can see where it is in that process on your own. And that comes back again to healthcare too, with real-time testing. As soon as your test results come back, you can log in and get those results. So insurance is a big one. Real estate is going to be another big one for blockchain as well. Absolutely. Contract law, anything to do with contractual agreements, absolutely huge for any blockchain, especially an NFT. You can actually set a contract. Maybe you have a transaction between two parties. Let's just take real estate, for instance. You can NFT that transaction and you can actually split that transaction. Maybe I have 2 or 3 business partners that are looking at purchasing some land. I can split that NFT into 4 different purchasers, right? So it's not just a single ownership of an NFT. You can get into a fractional NFT as well, where there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 8, 50 different partners into one transaction. So we're always going to hold that transaction, that fraction of that transaction to us. So it's always going to be fully transparent. And if you want to get into another use case of it, and it's not a very happy use case, but unfortunately, a lot of people divorce in this world. So when we go through divorce cases in court, documents and stuff like that, you always see the lawyers and the attorneys come in with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of paper of information when they come into court to fight a case, whether it's defending or prosecuting. Imagine having everything on the blockchain. So if you have like a prenuptial agreement on the blockchain through an NFT, it probably saves hundreds of thousands of dollars in court time if you had it fully transparent with your marriage agreement. So
It is. It is. You know what? My life experience, not with the divorce, but with technology mostly and with technology adoption. All right. I'm really finding this sweet spot between technology that, big tech is showing us and just big dreams and kind of what's possible, right? To what the most conservative industry can adapt. Okay, insurance is not an easy
yeah.
ship, right? Lots of money, lots of different interests involved, right? So I'm applauding to those pioneers who are ready to jump on that ship because we know it makes sense, right? So how
Yeah.
do you think we're gonna make that leap? Because we gotta do better.
Yeah, for sure. And the leap is going to come natural, I think, through these bigger companies. I mean, when we get into NFTs and blockchain and stuff like that, of course, you get into the big buzzword is quantum. I mean, we heard that at the CES lots, right? Quantum computing, and this that. So it's all that was a huge buzzword. So how do you get into quantum protection, quantum immunity? So that's going to be the other side of this. How do you protect? I mean, I don't know about you, Irene, but I don't know how many passwords I have to keep in my brain or and to keep safe. Or I mean, how many passwords do we have to deal with in a day? There's password to get into your work laptop. There's password to get into your computer. There's password to get into this. There's all these different passwords to get in. What do we have? Like 100 or 200 different passwords we have at all times. So you're gonna have you're gonna have to be protected from quantum computing as well, and a bit of a if I can throw it out there, a bit of a selfless plug. I mean, I advise for Hypersphere. So, Hypersphere is big into the space of quantum immunity and how to protect people, using quantum computing to get into your passwords and stuff like that. So, a company like Hypersphere coming out, they've researched this quantum immunity for 15 years. So they've spent 15 years researching this before they come out to the public and say, hey, you know what, we're patented and we're quantum immune. That's a big deal because when you have quantum computing, you're going to have the other side of it where you're going to have quantum protection as well. So, again, shameless plug for Hypersphere, but huge, it's huge for them. again, to research this thing for 15 years and then come out and say, listen, we are the only quantum immune company patented. So, it's going to be a big deal. Quantum computing is a big deal for sure.
I hear you. I hear you. You know, I spoke a few times with Davor Pavuna. He is quantum physics professor from Switzerland. All right,
Right.
and he raised rather emotionally, okay, all these points that how world is gonna change. You know, he is very concerned. Okay, many parties on academia as well as industry sharing that concern. So absolutely, we would need all the quantum opportunity, but we need quantum protection. I'm with you. So no shameless plugs here on these talks. Absolutely, if this is something you work with, if this is something that you involved with, absolutely bring it on. That's what I'm here for.
Right. I try to surround myself with use case. I'm a very logical person. I'm not, as we spoke before, I'm pretty monotone. So I'm not big into the emotion. I'm huge into use case, and I'm quite focused on logic. And when we get into quantum computing and quantum protection, then you get into NFTs and blockchain. I look at companies like, again, Hypersphere, Voice Life, the Verge currency, blockchain. I look at the three of those working together potentially, and I look at the full circle of an ecosystem. So you have somebody like Voice Life Inc., who they, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 patents in the world, with continuous wireless charging. So when you tie that back to electronic vehicles, maybe the day comes where we have continuous wirelessly charging devices. So your cell phone maybe never runs out of battery, or your drone will never run out of a battery, or your smart homes are continuously wirelessly charged through Voice Life. But when you tie that back into quantum, you have to have that immunity and that safety and that protection as well. Well, that's all surrounding a blockchain. So if you take something like Verge currency blockchain, and you expand the use case out to not only just being a cryptocurrency that we're all used to hearing about on the news, and it's a cryptocurrency, but the actual use case of the blockchain. So if you can use a blockchain like Verge currency blockchain tied into the continuous wirelessly charge for data, say one day we collect that data off that blockchain and have that blockchain protected by Hypersphere quantum immunity, it creates a full ecosystem, where huge companies can come out and license these technologies, license the technologies like Voice Life, license the technologies like Hypersphere Technologies, and run it all on an open source blockchain like Verge currency. Just imagine the world that we can come to, where everything is it's like a one-stop shop, I guess, for the lack of a better term, because you're continuously wirelessly charging your device, whatever it be. Anything that's wirelessly charged in the world, military equipment, radios, transceivers, everything can be wirelessly charged. But I know as a consumer that it's quantum immune, it's quantum protected. So let's just look at the Apple iPhone, or a Google phone, or wherever this comes to 5 years from now. If one of these companies pick up this and go, you know what, let's take our phones, run them on the blockchain, and have all the data protected from quantum on the blockchain. That's kind of where I position myself in the blockchain world. And of course, I migrated into Verge currency blockchain, for the privacy option. It's one of those one-off blockchains that has a privacy portion to the blockchain. So that's going to be huge when it comes to military and my private data information. My data can go onto that blockchain where only I'll have access to it. It'll be completely controlled by myself. So
I
anyway,
like the world you're describing. Sounds good to me. Absolutely, sounds good to me. I
yeah,
love how companies jumping on that wagon. Okay, because we would need a solution and we need healthy
yeah,
competition in that space. Okay,
yes,
because definitely what you mentioned, the situation, all of us being exposed. Okay, at any given moment, right? But instead of looking at half full, half empty glass, I do want to hear from leaders like yourself. The current projects, how we're gonna, have a better
yeah.
days. Yeah.
I mean, Samsung touched on it at the CES this year, where they came up with their remote, right? Like their remote control was near field. So that was a big deal at the CES this year, where you came out and you saw this remote for your TV or whatever that was near field charging off your Wi-Fi or off your router. Well, that's near field. When I'm talking about voice life, I'm talking about far field. So it's taking all that energy that's already out there being wasted off the towers, off the satellites, and it's harvesting that energy, and it can continuously wirelessly charge that device. Samsung broke into it this year at the CES, where they came out with their remote and they said, listen, you can charge your remote off your Wi-Fi router or whatever. Well, that's near field. They can't get into far field because obviously voice life has the multiple patents in that area. So when companies, but they're touched on it, they just kind of they sent it out there for the community to kind of say, oh, or ah, or do we like this technology? At some point in time, they're going to have to look into far field. It can't just be near field because, listen, I mean, if I have my remote control and stuff like that, and I can charge it off my Wi-Fi router, I mean, I can just go get batteries at the same time. It's that far field wirelessly charging that we want, where we're out there and there's no limitation to like 3 feet away or 2 feet away or 5 feet away. There's no limits to it. You just take whatever you have, your device, your phone. I mean, listen, Irene, imagine the day where you can hop into, and I'll just use this word Ford. Imagine one day you can hop into a Ford vehicle and you can be in the back seat of your friend's vehicle and you can look at your phone, touch a button and say, charge my phone or something like that. Or your phone. Ford has a built-in chip where it turns itself into a wirelessly charging device. We're used to having vehicles now where they have hotspots, right? Like the vehicles now have Wi-Fi, they have hotspots. This is not that much further than that technology. It's not that much more to implement a wirelessly charging, continuously wirelessly charging vehicle where you could just hop into the back seat of your Uber or whatnot, and your phone just gets the charge. That's the world we're living in. And again, through blockchain, imagine the data that somebody like Samsung or Google can pick up off these devices on the blockchain. They'll know your demographic. They'll know what kind of phone you're using. They'll know what kind of vehicle you're in because it's all going to be kept on the blockchain. So to me, that represents data, and that's data is the most valuable part. It's the most expensive part. It's the most valuable part of today's world is our data, right? So
It is, it is. You know, every conversation I'm having here, Mark, comes to data. Okay, every
yeah,
single one. Because frankly, right, we still don't realize. We still don't realize that this is the most valuable resource. We have to be smart about it, don't you think, as consumers, as company, as civilization?
100%. And Facebook, companies like Facebook or whatever it's called now. I don't know what they changed their name to, but companies like Facebook, they're very smart. They came into the world and they become a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar company off of what? Off of us.
Of
We're the
us,
users off
exactly.
of us. We're the users. We log in every day. We go and communicate with our friends. And little did we know, we see it as a service for us. So in the generation that's using Facebook or that used it even dating back to MySpace, it's data. We didn't actually get paid for our own data where we should be getting paid for our own data. Like, how many billions of users on Facebook? Well, if the times came where we said, listen, it's our data that you're using, I think you owe me a royalty for using my data. So every time I friend somebody or every time I talk to somebody, you need to be able to pay me for my data. We need to get to that world. And blockchain can actually do that, where we can control our own data. And it is just crazy how much billions and billions of dollars are made off people's data for sure. Unwillingly. Like it's willingly, but it's unwillingly. Like
That's gonna
we're inputting our data willingly, but then are we willingly selling our data for free? Like it's
That's a answer. Good question to answer. Absolutely. And if you talk to different parties, you'll find completely different views. But it's good. We do need to come up, right, to something that's tolerable for most of us and many of us, I would say, right. So that's a philosophical question, right, for next decades, I think, right. Mark,
yeah,
thank you so very much for your time today. I do want to finish with few takeaways, if you don't mind. Okay.
sure.
because you, with your extended knowledge, right, of the tech consumer side, enterprise side, overall technology trends, how do you want to finish this conversation? Few takeaways for the audience, please.
First of all, data is important. We are the data. We control our own data. We should be able to control our own data. Second of all, the world's evolving, and blockchain is only going to get bigger from here. Top 10 companies in the world are in 2022 are going to have to use blockchain for many different reasons. And the biggest takeaway, I'm really looking forward to CES 2023. And I say that I've been 2021, 2022. I think 2023 is going to be a benchmark CES. I think they're going to see numbers out of this world, and I think they're going to see exhibits out of this world. I think 2023 CES is going to see numbers that they couldn't even imagine seeing.
Exciting times, Mark. Thank you so very much to be part of SaugaTalks. Looking forward to host you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Irene. I really appreciate your time, and I'm so glad that we were able to come together and have this chat.